guys, it's the RC Genius, and today I'm going to go over a list of parts that would be a good idea to keep on hand when you first get into the RC hobby. Now, this is actually kind of a part 2 to the previous video that I just uploaded that was 5 tips to help you get you started in the RC hobby. Now this is going to be a list of parts, basic parts, that are a good idea to keep on hand when you first get into the hobby. Now, there's a lot of things that are breakable on any RC vehicle, no matter what the scale is, no matter what vehicle you have, what brand, it doesn't matter, anything could break. But what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you a list of the things that I have had to buy the most because they've broken so often on me. And really, in the long run, it's best to upgrade some of these parts. Sometimes you can't, sometimes there's parts you just can't buy an upgrade for, but what I'm going to show you is right in front of me. These are pretty much the parts that I'm going to be showing you today that are pretty basic and cheap to buy, and something that is a good idea to keep on hand when you are in the hobby to save you time in the long run, and then you don't have to go and order them once it breaks. I'm not saying you have to buy all these right away, but I'm saying that basically these parts are what I've found to break the most, and just when you get started, maybe buy some of these. I'll kind of have a range of what's the most necessary and what's not as likely to break so quickly. Before I get started, however, I would like to show you that all these parts that I'm showing you can be found in the manual that comes with your vehicle. Actually, not the manual itself, the user's manual, but this pamphlet right here, or catalog, or whatever you call it. But basically this is a book that has a full parts diagram, so it has an exploded view of what the truck would look like when it's taken apart, and all the part numbers and everything. And then in the book there's actually all of the parts listed with their prices and part numbers, so you can find it really easily in your book that you have. Now, these parts, I'm going to go through them. I think I'll do the most necessary ones first, so the ones that I found to break the fastest first, and then I'll show you the ones that aren't as often. They don't break as often. The first one is definitely going to be the Spur Gear. The Spur Gear is a plastic gear that's in the transmission. I actually have one of my trucks right here in front of me. And this truck is a Traxxas, basically a Stampede, but it's a Monster Jam truck. And the Spur Gear is located right underneath this gearbox cover. That Spur Gear is the only gear in the entire truck that's not metal. This is the only gear that's plastic. And that is why it is so high on the list, on my list at least, why you need to get this, because it's plastic, so when it heats up it could melt, and also it's very, very easy to strip. So when you're going forwards and reverse in fast motions, and you're hitting the brakes very often, you can strip these gears very easily. Thankfully they're only like $3, so they're really cheap to buy. However, I would recommend, if you could find them in your vehicle, for your vehicle in that same size, I would recommend getting maybe an aluminum one if that exists for your type of vehicle. Unfortunately for mine, doesn't seem like they do have them in aluminum, but definitely Spur Gears are high on my list. Second on the list are these shoulder screws. Now this screw is pretty much what's used in most of the Traxxas RC cars. Let me bring my light over here. This is all the screw is. The reason why it's called a shoulder screw is because it has that little shoulder there just above the thread. Now these screws are used a lot. If you just look through any Traxxas vehicle, you'll find that there's a lot of them. Most of them are these Phillip head drill bits. However, some of them are Allen wrenches. It just depends on what vehicle you have. I've known the Slash to have more Allen wrench ones than the Phillips head screwdriver ones. So just depends on what kind of vehicle you have, but those are definitely important to have. And once again, they're pretty cheap to buy. Next, I think the next thing on my list would probably be, you know what, no, I'm not going to choose that one. I'm going to choose I'm going to say this guy right here. This is a packaged part that I have, and this is a steering block, or steering knuckle. Either one, this is the size for my vehicle. All vehicles could be different, but basically in the front, the two bearings sit on both sides, and then the front axle runs through. These can break pretty easily if you hit a wall very hard, and basically one of the front tires hits before the other one. If it's a straight-on impact, you might not break as much. You might break the servo saver, which I actually don't have for this video because I don't find that to break very often. However, this one right here can break quite often, and once again, $3, like you can see right there. It's a pretty cheap part, and you can buy it in aluminum, I believe. Next is definitely going to be the caster block. These parts break very easily, and in fact, this is actually a broken one right here. You can see that this one is broken. Get the camera to focus. You can see that this one's broken in the bottom, so this one's actually no good. But thankfully, I have upgraded to aluminum ones on some of my trucks. Also, RPM is a great company, and they actually make these in plastic, but it's a different type of plastic, so it's actually stronger. But as you can see on this truck, right here are the caster blocks, and those guys are aluminum on here. So, definitely would recommend getting a set of caster blocks with your first RC vehicle. Next, you can see I've got AA batteries. Reason why is because your remote, depending on how much you drive your RC car, your remote's going to need batteries. Now, as a matter of fact, most RC companies don't include AA batteries with their vehicles when you buy them brand new, ready to run. So, in fact, getting a couple AA batteries would be good before you even buy your vehicle, because I can't guarantee whether your vehicle would have those. Traxxas, I know, doesn't include these. I have known that, no, not even Animus. It was, I think Viterra, Horizon Hobby. They include AA batteries with their vehicles, which is very nice, because you never know if you're going to have any. Also, different remotes take different amounts. This one right here is 4 batteries, so that would be a new style of Traxxas remote, which would be the 2.4 gigahertz, whereas the old 27 megahertz remotes, those take 8 batteries. So having AA batteries is a good idea. Next are some axle pieces. These are all axle pieces for my Traxxas trucks, and the connectors could be different for different brands of vehicles, but this is what I have to use. Now this is just a half shaft. The other piece that's right there is just the other end. This is the rear axle, and then this is the output yoke. Now all of these, you can see these 2 little arms here. Those can tend to snap or bend or break, and not very high on my list at all. However, definitely something you could look into getting if you had the extra money to invest in it, because those will break on you. And I had a big time when all I would break would be these, so I still have so many left over from when I had to buy all those. Next is actually going to be an antenna for the transmitter. Now if you have an older vehicle, or you buy a vehicle that still takes an antenna, for instance, this remote right here is the old 27 megahertz. This guy right here takes that long extendable antenna. And what I've found is that they're very easy to snap and bend. And when you break them, you can't go as far. The signal won't go as far, obviously. So having one of these is not a bad idea. Now, whether the company that you buy your RC from carries spare antennas, I can't say. Obviously, this is a Traxxas one. It's pretty cheap, $6 for this. But I would definitely suggest maybe getting some of these if you are known for, if you know that you could break your antenna. Now, obviously, the 2.4 gigahertz remotes, like this one right here, it doesn't have a antenna on it, so there's no worries with that. Next thing is going to be these RPM Camber Links. Now, obviously, when you buy your vehicle new, they won't be RPM. They'll be whatever brand you buy. But these ones right here, these are RPM, and honestly, I really like RPM right now. They're so far are really good with their products, and I haven't had any issues. This is a brand new set that I just bought, but these ones, they're pretty good. However, when you have your stock vehicle, they're not going to be the same quality as RPM because RPM is different plastic. So these can break. I've actually broken both front and rears in the past. So just getting one set is not a bad idea. There's no right or left sides, so you can use, if you break a front one and you break it on the left side twice, you can use the two front ones that you get in that kit for that same side. So really, I think that was $10 because it's RPM, but regular it's like $3 to $4 for those four. So totally fine. Now the last thing that I'm going to suggest to all of you that you could get for your vehicle is a motor. Motors are not often to break or burn out. However, motors don't last very long in the long run. They usually only last a couple months. If you don't drive your vehicle for 2 months, or you only drive it 2 or 3 times in 2 months, obviously the motor's going to last longer. But honestly, I think that having a motor is an important thing. I always keep motors in my shop, and I always end up having to buy more because they do go out very often. Sometimes it'll be as simple as just a wire coming off of the soldering point on the motor. It could burn out. You have to break in motors. If you didn't watch my 5 tips for beginners, please go watch that because you need to break in your motor when you first get it. While it's not fun to do, it's necessary, and then you can have way more fun afterwards. But a motor is a nice thing to have. Depends on where you buy them and depends on what kind of motor you need, but usually they range between about $16 to $25 for a motor. So all good stuff. These are parts that I would recommend you getting. Also keeping some oil in the shop for like spraying your motor after you clean your vehicle. If you run it through water, that's definitely a need to have because oil will keep anything from rusting and gunking up. Thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this video, if I should do more of these videos for beginners. Also let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see. I've got plenty of ideas for videos, but I want to hear also what you all might be wanting to see. And if you give me a suggestion for a video and I do it, I'll shout you out in the video. So thank you for all the support. See you guys next time on the RC Genius.